now, meet Jason Amaral. He is the face of the epidemic. He grew up in the Boston suburb of Arlington, Massachusetts, went to high school there, and then on to college, where he became an addict. He could be your child or the kid next door. As the president said in his address on Saturday, 44% of Americans know someone who has been addicted to prescription painkillers.
To our ongoing series, Hooked, America's heroin epidemic. There are some alarming new numbers out from the CDC showing a dramatic rise in the heroin epidemic in this country. Between 2002 and 2013, the number of heroin overdose deaths nearly quadrupled, and the number of women specifically using heroin doubled.
What could be worse than having your life taken away from you with a single bad choice? Not much can compare to the devastation heroin and other drugs in the opioid family can do to a person. In 2015, there were just over 20,000 overdose deaths related to prescription pain relievers, and just under 13,000 overdose deaths related to heroin. Also, for the 20.5 million Americans ages 12 or older that had a substance use disorder in 2015, 2 million had a substance use disorder involving prescription pain relievers, and 591,000 had a substance use disorder involving heroin. Heroin is an opioid drug made from morphine, a natural substance taken from the seed pod of the Asian opium poppy plant. Heroin can be a white or brown powder, or a black sticky substance known as black tar heroin. Other common names for heroin include dope, horse, junk, and smack. Heroin enters the brain rapidly and changes back into morphine, then binds to the opioid receptors on cells located in many areas of the brain, especially those involved in feelings of pain and pleasure. Opioid receptors are also located in the brainstem, which controls important processes such as blood pressure, arousal, and breathing. People who use heroin report feeling a rush, accompanied by effects that include dry mouth, flushing of the skin, heavy feeling in the hands and feet, clouded mental functioning, and going on the nod, which is a back and forth state of being conscious and semi-unconscious. People who use heroin over the long term may develop collapsed veins, infection of the heart lining and valves, abscesses, which are swollen tissues filled with pus, constipation, stomach cramping, liver or kidney damage, and lung complications, including various types of pneumonia. Along with the dangers of heroin itself, street heroin may also contain other dangerous chemicals which can clog blood vessels and lead to permanent damage of the lungs, liver, kidney, and/or brain. Also, sharing injection equipment increases the chances of HIV and other blood-borne pathogens being spread from one addict to another. Some of the other opioid drugs are the prescription pain medicines. Some of the main and most common examples are codeine, methadone, oxycodone, and Vicodin. Prescription opioid pain medicines have similar effects to heroin. Research suggests that misuse of these drugs may open the door to heroin use. Nearly 80% of Americans using heroin reported misusing prescription opioids prior to using heroin. But only around 4% of those who misuse prescription pain medicines switch to heroin. This means that the misuse of prescription pain medicines is only one of the causes of heroin abuse. Three years ago, after a long spell of my father not hearing from my brother, James, we got a call that a body had been found. My father needed to go to Florida and identify if it was his son. This was the first time I realized how terrible the drug heroin truly is. My brother was only 24 when he died, and that was the first time I saw my dad get truly emotional. My brother started down the path when he was 14 years old, the same age I was when he died. He never was able to get better. Not only was he affected, but my father and his mother were affected greatly as well. The addiction even caused some of their marriage. My brother used to be a good kid, but the drugs figuratively and literally turned him into a sociopath whose only goal was to get more heroin. I talked many times with my father about this unfortunate reality, and here are some of his thoughts.
Well, there was a mixed bag of what was going on with his behavior. I mean, yes, he was a bright young guy, very capable, and dramatically underachieving. And what we were seeing was a real problem with an inability to tell the truth and manipulative behavior. Um, that was the sort of stuff that we were really seeing, and that was where it was increasing unreliability. And the bottom line became, if he said something, you couldn't assume it was the truth. You usually had to assume it was not the truth. So um, that was a big thing: truthfulness, lack of it, lack of reliability, and along with that, on a parallel side was the underperformance that just got worse and worse and worse over time. And over time, what we saw was he stopped maturing essentially. He stayed as a young teenager, even as the years went by, emotionally. And with his judgment and so forth, as being that of like a 12, 13, or 14-year-old, even though eventually he's in his 20s.
While heroin addiction and prescription opioid addiction seem to be two unstoppable forces, there are ways to pick oneself up from addiction. One of the most seen and talked about methods for fiction and addiction is rehab. Rehab allows a person to meet with trained professionals and other addicts to get better. Another method, sometimes used alongside rehab, is detox. The most important part of beating any addiction is the addict's want to be free. No one can force an addict to be clean, and only the addict can allow oneself to stay clean. Heroin is one of the hardest addictions to kick because you are never rid of the want for heroin. All you can do is learn to deal with it, and people have.